to do teshuvah for. So we said last time, number one, people are mizalzel. People disparage and they think it's not so important. The mitzvot derabanan, the rabbinic mitzvot. They say, it's the rabbis. They made up these rules. They made up these interpretations. Oh, the rabbis, they made their lives complicated. I follow the Torah. The Torah says that I do it. The rabbis say, okay, that's the Yetzer Hara speaking. And they have to know that the words of the sages, we wouldn't be able to understand any part of the Torah if it wasn't for the sages. They explained to us how to read the pasuk. The Torah says eye for eye. What, we gouge somebody's eye when they lose an eye from somebody? No, it means you got to give, Gemara Sechah Bakam, it says the worth of an eye. So you see, you can't even read a pasuk in the Torah without the sages explaining it. So therefore, we have to be careful to respect the words of the sages. And that's the way you show love to Hashem. The people who are close to Him, right? If you see your friend and he has a little baby, oh, he's so cute. You play with the baby to show, because you love your friend, so you love his son. Same thing. Hashem, you love Hashem so much, you gotta love the people close to Him, which is the sages. And therefore, he says that whoever goes against the words of the sages, he gets chaya mita hazeh shalom. Because the Torah sometimes gives lashes, sometimes it gives other punishments, but every word of the sages, you go against it, chaya mita. So therefore, a person has to be very careful. Second level, chomer mitzvot aseh. It's positive mitzvah obligations, right? A person has to be motivated and do teshuvah and always want to do a mitzvah. As it says, ve'yireh mitzvah hu yishulam. As it says in the pasuk of Mishlei, one who fears the mitzvah, he will be rewarded, which means that a person should get to the level where he should not want to neglect any mitzvah. Chaz v'shalom, we shouldn't be on that place where, okay, come, let's go do this mitzvah. Come on, not right now. We have to go to the Seder. I'm not in the mood right now. I'm just sat on the couch. I'm tired. Let's go daven Arvit. We didn't daven Arvit. It's 11 o'clock. How can you go to sleep without praying Arvit? Oh, no, tomorrow I'll pray to Shachrit. It's okay. Leave me alone. I don't want to. I'm comfortable. There's an Ami game on. I don't want to leave, right? So over there, the person has to know that the real Yirat Shamayim is that a person will have a mitzvah opportunity, he will always grab it. And he says about Zuk Malachi, when it comes to positive mitzvah, there you could see the difference between the righteous and the wicked, the one who serves God and the one who does not serve Him. You can see, right? What did Avi say last night? Right? The Gemara on the end of Olazara said that the king he cleansed the knife for the rabbi and he didn't cleanse the knife for the other guy, and the other guy was Jewish too. So he said, before you cut me fruit, you're a goy and you clean the knife. Why didn't you clean it for me? You only cleaned it for the rabbi. He says because I saw who's a tzaddik, who's a rasha. He says, you last night when you're staying in my quarters, I sent a lady, a devichka, to each of my guests. The rabbi said, no, nilzeh, and you said, okay, and you accepted. So what? So you're really religious? If you're really religious, so why did you do what you did last night? So therefore, that's why he didn't clean the knife for him. So you see that Hashem will be able to see who's the real tzaddik, who's the real person who sees the mitzvah, he grabs it, and he says, oh, this is a mitzvah, I want it. And or Chaz v'shalom, it's a negative commandment, he says, I don't want it. And that way Hashem will see if a person who's a tzaddik, who's a rasha. This doesn't only consist of positive commandments, right? Ben sheish mehen lo ta'aseh. Some of the positive commandments are more strict than other positive commandments because sometimes they have a lo ta'aseh also connected to it. For example, tzedakah. Tzedakah we know is a positive commandment, but the Torah says also lo ta'ametz levavcha. Don't harden your heart not to give. So you see, it says positive and negative some mitzvot. So a person has to be very careful with his mitzvot. He says a person a lot of times he gets confronted with day-to-day avoidance, which is forbidden, right? A person has to be always looking and not looking how to avoid, right? For example, the biggest Yitzhara, Rabbi, Yishem, no Tahanun. If you would know what Tahanun accomplishes and how Hashem forgives us every time we say 13 attributes of mercy, what is the Slichot? Everybody, Slichot. Slichot is the 13 attributes of mercy. We get to say it on Monday and Thursday, the long Tahanun, and a lot of times the 13 attributes of mercy. If you would know that Hashem says, I make a promise, every time you say it, I forgive you, you would be dying to say another Yud Gimel Midot. And we come and we say, no, Rabbi, he's a this, he's a Moel, he's a this, he's a Bar Mitzvah, Chatan, Yishem. Today's this Rebbe's Yartzai, Yishim, right? Davai, fast. So a person has to know that ideally we should not be looking to avoid mitzvot. He says, for example, he says, for example, there was a matter of sin that was available to a man. Let's say he was confronted with an opportunity to do immorality. And he had a strong desire to engage in illicit relationships. And he held himself back. He overcame his yitzhar and he didn't do the sin. He says, you should know that's also called avodat Hashem. That's also called the mitzvah. Sometimes we think that the negative transgression is only associated with bad. You should know when you had a chance to do a negative transgression, you don't do it, it's also a mitzvah. It's also considered like a positive commandment. So therefore he says it's also part of avodat Hashem. For example, somebody who got a chance to become wealthy through fraud and deceit, and nobody knows, nobody sees, and it will look like you're righteous, and he goes and he says, no, I can't do that. I have to be honest. My word is my word. Hashem sees. No matter what, Hashem sees. And he goes and he doesn't cheat, he doesn't lie. Over there, there's also another place where you show Hashem if you're religious or not. You show Hashem if you're looking for mitzvot or not. So therefore, a person has to be careful. As it says, Yashav elo avar avera notin lo sachar. If you sat and you didn't do the sin, even though you had the opportunity to, Hashem also considers it as he did a mitzvah. This you held yourself, you fulfilled the mitzvah of you fear of Hashem. What is the fear of Hashem? There came opportunity to do a mitzvah, you did it. The opportunity to do a avera, and you didn't do it. That's Yirat Shamayim. And we'll finish with the mashal. He says over here. He says, first of all, the sages say, always treat all mitzvot equal. You don't know which one's worth more than the other one. And you should always look to who commanded it. Look at Hashem. Hashem is the one who commanded it. So what does it make a difference if it's mincha, if it's tzedakah, if it's learning, if it's saying ashkava, whatever the mitzvah is. Hashem said to do it. So I have to treat all equal because Hashem said to do it. But people, they like to pick and choose. Shabbat, kashrut, tarat mishpacha, okay, learning once a day, okay, pray shachri, put the tefillin, say shema, and say amidah, that's the main thing. Everything else is, we don't have to keep everything else. No, that's disrespect. If Hashem said to do all these things, so why are you picking and choosing what He said? That means you don't really respect Hashem, chas v'shalom. You don't really believe that He said all these things, and that's a lack of emunah. We need to work on that. If you know Hashem said it, you got to treat all of them equally. And He says, mashal. For example, there was a king who instructed his servants to plant an orchard with all different types of trees. He said, I'm going to give you good payment. But he didn't know how much he's going to pay them for each of they didn't know how much he's going to get paid for each of the trees. There's trees that pay $100, there's trees that you get paid $20. And he didn't tell them which one. And therefore, that way, why did he do that? He wanted them to work hard in all of them. So when we go to Shamayim, the same thing. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to give us reward for some mitzvot way more than the other ones. But Hashem didn't tell us in this world which one, how much each weighs. Why? Because He wanted us to treat all of them equal. Baruch Nayolam. Amen.